Segregated theaters in American cities and towns predate the Civil War. Following the practice in other larger cities, Atlanta's first theater, the Atheneum, advertised a colored gallery. After the Civil War, the color line was introduced in the city's new Grand Opera House, which opened in 1870, and advertised that a fine gallery has been reserved for the colored citizens. Later newspaper accounts revealed that this section of benches at the back of the balcony was hardly equal to the white seating areas in the rest of the theater. As Atlanta grew in size and population, theaters multiplied, with a color line applying to each. When the fabulous Fox Theater, constructed at a cost of $3 million, opened on Christmas Day in 1929, it had separate and unequal accommodations for its African-American patrons. Native Atlantan Gwen Middlebrooks came to the Fox Theater as a teenager in the late 1950s. Because she was African-American, she entered through the colored entrance and watched the movie in the colored section. When she returned home after the movie and talked to her parents, she learned a lesson that would help her when she joined the student movement to end segregation in Atlanta.
It was before 1957, probably 1956. A young man asked me out on a date, and he was trying to be impressive and take me to a nice theater, and he brought me to the Fox Theater. We came in this entrance.
So here's the ticket window, and the boy who you came with, this is where he bought your ticket?
Yes, yes, yes.
And then he escorted you up the steps?
Up the steps, and we sat in the balcony.
Heading on up.
This is a long way. I had no idea how many people were down there, who they were. I knew there was a wall there, not in terms of racial separation. I got the feeling when I was here I was in a castle, because you could see the lights glowing from above that wall, and it came around here. And so it was like a circle. I could see that. I thought the effect was really, really beautiful. I felt really special being up here till my father told me I wasn't supposed to be here. I had come in the back door. I didn't know it.
Tell us about that. So when you left, you felt really good. You'd seen the movie and this, beautiful view from up here. And so you get home, and describe what happened when you got home.
My dad asked me what movie I had seen, and I told him. He said, "Well, that's not playing at the Ashby Theater or what have you. Where in the world did you go?" And I told him I went to the Fox Theater. He said, "You went in the back door. That's a segregated theater." He was very, very upset about it. And he said, "You're never to go back there. And you don't go in the back door of places. If you can't walk in the front door, you don't go in."
What was their background that gave them that view of segregation?
My parents were high school graduates. We were from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And we moved to Atlanta because my father got a job at the Atlanta Post Office. He also worked part-time as a waiter and a cook. At the time I was in high school, he was working at the Biltmore Hotel. And my father, early in my life, before I was born, had worked on the railroad as a cook. And he was a head cook. During those times, they didn't call colored people chefs, but he always had on a tall white hat. I'd go to the Biltmore Hotel. He would be there cooking. His name was Eddie. They called Edward Harris. They called him Eddie. Everybody loved him. So he was very much in the downtown area of Atlanta, interacting with people of all races and cultures. My mother was a housewife when she started working. She worked 19 years as a dormitory director at Spelman College, but during that time she was working as a maid for $5 a day, and as they say, car fare. So she knew a lot of people who worked as maids in the department stores, in the restaurants, in the theaters. That's why we were told you were never supposed to go to the bathroom when you were out. Because the bathrooms were dirty. She said that her friends told her that they kept the white bathrooms for white people clean. They didn't clean the bathrooms for colored people. You were not to drink out of the water fountains because she said they spat in the water fountains. We were told you don't go to the back door. If it's a place where you want food and you can't go in the front door to get your food, then you don't go in there. You don't go in the back door anywhere. And I think it was because of their interactions, riding the bus and doing things. They would give us instructions what to do when you got on the bus, and don't bump into any white people. If you're on the street walking and a white person is walking toward you, you must step aside. Don't expect them to step aside. They would tell us to do things to keep us safe so we wouldn't end up in jail and we wouldn't anger any member of the white population. We didn't have a car. It was amazing how large I found out the world was, because we lived in our neighborhood, went to our school. We didn't go anyplace else. We didn't have a lot of money to go a lot of places, so you didn't venture out of your neighborhood. So we weren't exposed to a lot of racist situations. Because of that, they tried to protect us and assure us that we were great, wonderful people. But in order for us to be healthy and be safe, there were certain things we needed to know that we shouldn't do.
And so what we'll do now is go and you can talk about coming on the dare, coming into a segregated theater.
That's right.
Into the white section.
A risk taker.
And the experience you had doing that.
Yes, yes. We had a teacher who was leaving Spelman. She was from India. And she was taking a job somewhere else, and we wanted to take her out and thank her for all she had done for us. We knew she came to this theater because she would tell us about some things she had done on the weekend. So we decided we would take her to dinner in the school cafeteria. And before we left campus, we told her we would be honored to wear something that spoke of her culture. We put on some of her clothes, her saris, and pulled our hair back to make it really straight, put the red dot here, and we looked just like her. You know, we often thought, wow, she can go wherever she wants to go, even though her skin was the same color as ours, because she was from a different culture. Her speech was different, but we couldn't. So we made ourselves look just like her in her apartment, and we came to the Fox Theater. I was so excited. We actually walked down this aisle. We were so excited. We were trying to be quiet and amazed that we could just walk in here with some clothes on that indicated that we were of a different culture and actually sit in this theater. It was just amazing. We were so excited. I don't remember what the movie was about at all. We laughed and silently, of course, and we had to make nonverbal gestures to each other so the people around us wouldn't know we could speak English. And we went out when we couldn't contain our laughter. We would go to the concession stand and point to things, pretend we couldn't speak English. We didn't consider ourselves defiant, just risk takers. But to dare to do that, you know, showed, I think, the depth of our spirit and our willingness to really remove the shackles of inequality. We could see all of the stars and the things in here that I hadn't seen that one time I had been in the balcony. It was just amazing to realize how much other people had an experience that we didn't get a chance to experience when we looked at this place. It was amazingly wonderful. And we figured change has to come. Everybody should enjoy this. We shouldn't be denied this. So it's really just one piece of it, but one piece of what equality is all about.
Let's stop at the fountain here, and just this would have been the colored fountain, and it's still here.
Oh, it sure is old.
So if you would have gotten a drink of water, this would have been it.
This would have been it.
And this isn't cooled water. This is just straight
water.
from the
That's amazing. That's
decorated bed.
ornate.
Here you are.
Ah.
The plain tile commodes.
This looks like the original tile.
Yeah.
Never saw this. Interesting. This wall, this is very nice. Look at this.
Now, how does this compare?
I tell you.
Gwen Middlebrooks was one of over 100 students from the Atlanta University Center colleges who were arrested in March of 1960 after requesting service in lunchrooms and cafeterias in downtown Atlanta. In the following 2 years, AU Center students picketed segregated theaters as well as restaurants. A year later, the Metropolitan Opera, which performed for a week each spring in Atlanta, informed the Fox Theater that it would not return if the theater remained segregated. So on April 30th, 1962, the color line was abolished at the Fox Theater. Downtown theaters followed next, and then neighborhood theaters thereafter.